Alright mate, how you doing? Welcome back to another episode of IMO, and today we're talking about Zinedine Zidane being appointed as the new boss of Real Madrid and how, in my opinion, it could all end in tears. Yes, that's right. The French legend Zinedine Zidane has taken over as Real Madrid manager, taking Rafa Benitez's job. We're going to talk all about that today and the repercussions of it. Also, at the end of the episode, I'm going to show you the highlights of my new podcast. It's the 5th podcast featuring my two brothers in this one. There'll be a link in the description to where you can listen to it and whatnot. But first of all, let's talk about Zidane taking over at Real Madrid. Now, it seems like what Los Blancos are trying to do is potentially create their own kind of Guardiola, Luis Enrique situation where an ex-player takes over and hopefully leads them to glory, like Guardiola did, like Enrique is doing now, both ex-Barcelona players at Barcelona. Apparently, side note, Real Madrid did actually approach Guardiola to be their next manager, which is controversial. I mean, obviously he's very sought after. He is leaving Bayern Munich at the end of the season, but this guy's like the most anti-Real Madrid sort of player slash manager you could ever get. For them to approach him kind of shows how desperate they are and how they haven't really got a clear strategy, but it didn't work out. Guardiola said no, and they are going to be going with Zinedine Zidane. Now, the first thing to talk about here is you can't just say Guardiola and Luis Enrique were a success at Barcelona purely because they used to play for them. It helped. It meant the fans had a certain relationship with them, but they were both very good managers. But more importantly, they inherited a very, very good squad. A squad not just full of amazing players like the Messis and the Iniestas and etc., but also players that had played together for a long time, those that had come through La Masia, the Barcelona youth sort of school. They loved each other. They understood each other on a completely different level to the way a lot of other teammates do, because they played for the best part of a decade together by the time they broke into the first team. So they were kind of fortunate in the sense that they came along at the right time for Barcelona. Obviously, Guardiola has proved his managerial kind of skill since then many times, both with Barcelona and Bayern Munich, and Enrique's reputation is glowing as well. He was also lucky to come into Barcelona at the time they have this amazing strike force, Messi, Suarez and Neymar. Now, that's not to say that Zidane isn't inheriting a very, very talented Real Madrid squad, but it's not the same. They haven't got the same chemistry, the same relationship. The players aren't on the same level with each other as the Barcelona boys were. And with Luis Enrique, he actually did have managerial experience before taking over at Barcelona. He'd managed Roma in Serie A, where he didn't actually do that great, didn't qualify for European competition, and then he had a better season at Celta in La Liga before joining Barcelona. Now, those two jobs would have given him, invaluable experience as a manager. Now, yes, Guardiola did go straight from managing Barcelona B to Barcelona, much like Zinedine Zidane has gone from Castilla, which is the Real Madrid B team, to the first team. But Guardiola's a freak of nature. Potentially one of the best managers of all time, but he's an anomaly. He's not necessarily the way that everyone can do it. You need that experience. And for me, if Zidane really wants a long-term future in management, he shouldn't have taken this job. I don't think he should have. I don't think it's the right time, because if he does succeed and he does amazingly, yes, that's a brilliant decision. Like Guardiola, do a really good job in your first managerial appointment, proper one anyway, and you set yourself up as one of the best managers in the world. But I don't get the impression that's the way Zidane's managerial career is going to go. He hasn't had an amazing time at Castilla. Last season, he actually struggled with them a little bit. He's been doing better this season, but he's far from kind of set out a managerial stall that says, look at me, I'm Zidane, I'm an amazing manager. He hasn't really proved anything yet as a manager, in my opinion. There is a few things that will help Zidane, though. One is obviously that he's a Real Madrid legend, so unlike Benitez, who seemed like a weird appointment from day one, I don't ever think he should have been made manager. I think once you make someone a manager, you've got to give them some time. He probably deserved a bit more of it. But it was a weird appointment because he's got a kind of weird sort of association with him, Benitez. He's done some amazing things, like won the Champions League with Liverpool, etc. But he's kind of mocked a little bit. He's not really... Look at when he went to Chelsea. He actually did okay for Chelsea, won the Europa League with them. But no one really wanted him there. He was kind of taking the mick out a lot of the time he was there. And I feel like if you're going to be the manager of Real Madrid, you need a big ego. You need to have a big character, a big reputation, not just so you can justify the appointment, but also so you can handle the players. Because it never looked like Benitez and Ronaldo were going to get on. I don't think Benitez is a strong enough personality to handle someone like Ronaldo. And Ronaldo's ego needs to be kept in check by someone with equally as big an ego. Like Mourinho did at Real Madrid, potentially like Zidane does. Zidane is one of the world's best players of all time. He's up there with Ronaldo in terms of the way he's looked at as a footballer and when he did play. So maybe he has got the ego and the respect of Ronaldo to actually keep him in check. So the Real Madrid fans will probably put up with Zidane a little bit longer than Benitez. Maybe if he does have some bad results, they'll give him more time. I mean, this season, he can sort of make the excuse that it wasn't his season, so he's got to the end of the season, really, before he has to start proving himself next year. But ultimately, it's a results business, and there is no club in world football that's as ruthless as Real Madrid when it comes to getting rid of managers that don't perform. So if Zidane does not live up to the standard that the Real Madrid fans and the president and everyone involved in the club believes they should be hitting time and time again, they will get rid of him. And that'll be an end, or a damage at least, to a beautiful relationship between Zidane and Real Madrid. The problem with Real Madrid is they just don't understand it takes time to build a club the way that Barcelona have. You have to actually let it come through the roots of the academy. You've got to take a core that Barcelona have had that have allowed them to play so well and be the best team in world football for the last decade. You can't fake that. You can't just go and buy mercenaries that don't really care about the club and expect them to perform in the same way. Their players, just like their managers, they get rid of them as soon as they stop performing. And that lack of consistency doesn't really allow you to foster a winning attitude over a number of years, a winning mentality, a team mentality, which is so important to be a winning team. I mean, look at Ancelotti. He wins the Champions League with Real Madrid. Next season, doesn't have an amazing one. They get rid of him. They forget about the Champions League win and they say, no, you've got to do it every single year. It's not always possible to do that. The other thing that will be affected by Zidane's appointment is the transfer window, because there'll be players that potentially were looking at moving away from Real Madrid under Benitez, like Isco was looking at a potential reunion with Pellegrini at Manchester City. Obviously, they worked together at Malaga. But Isco may feel like he can get back into the team now. A new manager, new start. Generally, players that are on the fringes, when a new manager comes in, feel like they can actually get their way back in. So maybe people like Isco will stay around. Maybe someone like Martin Odegaard, who Zidane had worked with quite closely at the Castilla, will actually get a chance in the first team. He hasn't really had many opportunities under Benitez. At the end of the day, it could go really well for Zidane. He could come in, absolutely smash it, get loads of wins to them. They've got the team to do that. There's no doubt about it. But it's a big risk for me. If you want a long-term career in football management, you've got to learn the lessons slowly but surely. You've got to take some... Maybe he should have gone and managed a team in Liga somewhere. Get a little bit of experience in his native country. But time will tell. Will Zidane work out as the Real Madrid boss? Let me know in the comments below. One of the best players of all time, but will he be one of the best managers of all time? Which he'll need to be if he's going to succeed at Real Madrid, because they do not settle for second best. Okay, guys, now it's time to take a look at the highlights from this week's podcast. It's the 5th episode of my podcast. I had a little Christmas break, now it's back. I've got my two brothers on there with me, Seb and Saunders, today. There's a link in the description to all the iTunes links where you can download it and whatnot. But let's take a look at it now. Don't forget, it's sponsored by Dream Team FC. I've got a blog on there every week. There's a link to the blog in the description as well, so make sure you check that out. Talking football every single week. But here we go. Here are the highlights from the 5th episode of the Spencer FC podcast. All right, mate. How you doing? Welcome back to the Spencer FC podcast. It's our 5th one. It's our first one after Christmas. We had a bit of a Christmas break. My guests today, and I say guests plural because I have two of them, are people that I've actually been on Christmas break with. It's Seb and Saunders, my brothers. Hello, brothers.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, thanks. Not too bad.
So I was thinking, what does he want to do? I think he's going for Blatter's old gig. Gary Neville in charge of FIFA. Can you imagine that? It's either that or maybe like UEFA, like Patini's old job. Phil Neville was basically a glorified translator of his brother. He went out there, he's like, yeah, you could be the coach, mate. Secretly, he wanted Gary the whole time. Let Phil learn some Spanish. My question for you is the West Ham stuff, because obviously we've got 3 West Ham supporters here, so we need to touch on it. And we haven't really talked a lot about West Ham in these podcasts before, to be fair. Is how well do you think we can do?
If you look at the table, all the way down to 12th, there's not many points in it.
Very close, yeah.
Like
it's very tight.
back-to-back defeats, and you're 12th.
One more thing I'd like to talk about West Ham while we're talking about is Andy Carroll, because 2 goals in 2 games, brilliant haircut. Everything's going well for Andy. Should he go to the Euros? I was sure Arsenal weren't going to win the league, and I said I'd get a Mesut Ozil tattoo if they won the league without signing anyone in January. Ballon d'Or is going to be, next time we do the podcast next week, the Ballon d'Or would have been issued. We'll have a winner and we'll have the team of the year as well. So what I want to do, first of all, is see if we can decide who we think should win the Ballon d'Or. Neymar?
Yep.
Over Ronaldo and Messi?
Correct.
Give me some reasoning.
I'll go Neymar. I think that Messi was injured for a large part of the year. I think that...
It's not his fault.
No, of course it's not his fault, but it affects his ability to play football. Yeah. So you can't win an award about playing football if you're not doing it.
Let's make our team of the year, okay? So we can make a team of the year, anyone from world football. We'll go with a 4-3-3 formation, we can agree on that. Starting off in goal,
Is there any real competition or debate here, or is it the big?
I think he's the big man, isn't it?
Big man.
Sweeper.
My main memory from that game, I don't actually remember this, was when Danny Dyer hugged me from behind in the street.
Yes. Yeah, golf's been a big part of my life. It's sort of my big passion. I've had some good successes, winning the Trilby Tour twice and winning some other Audi events, all amateur stuff.
Your drawer underneath your bed, you pulled it out. It's like an armature, it's like from James Bond, like Q, when he gives me his different gadgets. You had like a laser-sighted sniper rifle. You had like so many different guns. So when Saunders does a vlog, he does a vlog. You know what I mean? Like
Capital V.
We're not just talking about like holding his phone up and talking down. There's obviously there's you chatting and stuff like that, but some of the visual stuff you make is unbelievable, mate. So make sure you check it out. Saunders says.
So if you want to listen to the whole thing, the links you need to listen to it are all in the description below. Make sure you check out Dream Team FC and my blog on there. Drop a like on this video if you've enjoyed it. Leave me a comment with what you think about Zidane's appointment at Real Madrid, and I'll see you next time. Until then, don't go changing.